This episode is brought to you by Prime Video. In the small town of Holland, Michigan, nothing is ever what it seems. Behind the tulip festivals and pretty houses lay dark secrets that threaten to tear a marriage apart. Nicole Kidman stars in this darkly twisted thriller about a wife and mother whose quest to uncover her husband's secrets may get her more than she bargained for. Holland, streaming on Prime Video March 27th.
The PC gave us computing power at home, the internet connected us, and mobile let us do it pretty much anywhere. Now generative AI lets us communicate with technology in our own language using our own senses. But figuring it all out when you're living through it is a totally different story. Welcome to Leading the Shift, a new podcast from Microsoft Azure. I'm your host, Susan Ettlinger. In each episode, leaders will share what they're learning to help you navigate all this change with confidence. Please join us. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
To the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, episode 184, Shrek the Third. Tangent time! Welcome to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, the #1 place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love and appreciation of animation. So, hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it is time to dive into today's episode.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, from far, far away. I'm your host, Morgan Stradling.
And I'm Chelsea Robson.
And we are here to talk about Shrek the Third. Do not call it Shrek 3, because they don't want you to call it that.
They're trying to lead into something. Can't you see?
It's all about nobility, titles, secession. So obviously, we're going to go with the third to go along with that. Yep.
Yes.
So for those of you who listened to last episode, we reviewed Shrek 2, not Shrek the Second, and had glowing reviews, enjoyed ourselves so much. It was a film that we'd almost forgotten about over the years. And so we were just on this Shrek high that we wanted to go and see what the next installment was, even though we were both very aware that this one had kind of slipped our memory for reasons which we kind of assumed it wasn't as good as the second, right? And so
Right.
We dove into Shrek the Third, and we are here today to give our thoughts, our reviews, to have a good time discussing the third installment of the Shrek series. So I'm excited to do that today.
I am too. Kind of.
I'm trying not to reveal my hand too early, but whew, that's a doozy. It was easy.
But let's start off with a nerdy couch discussion.
I know people are waiting with bated breath and have to wait a little longer because we are jumping into this nerdy couch discussion. So for today's nerdy couch discussion, it actually came from one of our listeners, Luke. He sent in a voicemail, which we'll play in a second, and I thought it was a really, really great idea. So take it away, Luke.
Hey, Morgan, Mason, and Chelsea. This is Luke, and I'm not leaving a movie review per se, but I had maybe a little idea that you guys could do for a nerdy couch discussion, because I love nerdy couch discussions. We could all use more nerdy couch discussions. Anyways, I just finished watching the Making of Frozen 2 documentary series on Disney+, and personally, I loved it. Wanting to go into the animation industry, I love, getting this look into the process and how it's made and the people and the studios. So I know they had other making of documentary series, namely for The Mandalorian, and they've done longer normal documentaries for even just past movies that they've made. So my question for you guys is, do you guys like them? Do you guys like the insight that you get into the process? Or do you think it maybe ruins the magic a little bit? And do you guys think that there should be more that are released to Disney Plus? Anyways, thank you guys for everything that you do. You're awesome.
Ooh, thank you, Luke. That's a great question.
Was an absolutely wonderful question. So I thought, you know what? Absolutely, we will answer this because I am a behind the scenes junkie. To be honest, the majority of the time that I am buying Blu-rays or DVDs back in the day was simply because of the bonus features, because I could not get enough of this making of behind the scenes action, which was the only way to find it was through the bonus features. And even back in the day, do you remember when they had at the very end of some movies, they would have a little bonus feature making of on VHS? Oh, yeah.
Sleeping Beauty is the main one that's in my mind. The making of, the magic. And I had watched that so many times. Actually, this is one of the reasons why we have a podcast, because how obsessed both Morgan and I are on making ofs and director's commentaries and random fun facts to impress your friends. That's why we're here.
Exactly. You know, and talking about Into the Unknown, the making of on Disney Plus, I actually have not seen it yet. I haven't had the opportunity. I was catching up on some other things and then had to watch Shrek the Third. So I most likely will be watching it this weekend, and everything that I have heard about it is just raving reviews. And what makes this one different, this is someone who just has not seen it, obviously, but just going off from what I've heard, it's a six-part series. So it is very extensive. It is very long, and it goes really, really in depth. And what I think from just that overall, you know, you're getting a few hours of making of content versus what we got on bonus features of DVDs is that we're actually getting a true behind the scenes story, where I feel like a lot of times for the making of DVDs and Blu-rays, this was the way that it would go. You would get maybe a 30 to 60 minute true behind the scenes making of featurette, and then little snippets of bonus ones that were anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes long, and they kept them short. And I don't know why they did that. I think maybe they thought maybe it was a file size thing where they needed to keep the file sizes small for the discs, or they just didn't think the attention span of the home media viewer was there. So I felt like a lot of the bonus features and making of, they were really bite-sized snippets.
They could have also had them at that length because they wanted to like put them in between different shows on like Disney Channel or something. Like sometimes they just needed filler.
Have you ever seen that?
Well, I guess I saw some, like they would cut, I did see some as commercials that they would do like a 5-minute, thing, they use that as kind of like their commercial time. And it was, they would play that and then it would just go into stuff, but they would cut them down, even those smaller ones, into smaller things. So it'd be like, hey guys, I'm back at the studio. Look at me. And I the one specific one that comes into my head. Do you like my voice, by the way?
Yes, that's your Disney Channel starlet voice.
Yes. There's one specific that comes to my mind where it's this girl who's at the skate park right before Tarzan's coming out. And, one of the major influences of Disney's Tarzan, and it's just like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I feel like those were created. I've seen things like that where they specifically created those as promotion for the film for the Disney Channel and used that as a way to get people to watch the film. And then you would then see those on the Blu-ray as like, hey, we already filmed and recorded a lot of this stuff. So let's just throw it on there.
Just throw it on there.
All
assets are now on this one DVD.
No, it's the truth, because a lot of times you'll get the music videos. You'll get all the foreign versions of the music videos. You'll get the commercials and the little, what are they called? They're little snippets where they're like 6 seconds, like bumper footage. When I think of this, I think of like for Frozen, those pictures where it's Anna on a totally white background and she's kind of like doing something really crazy to the camera. Or there's Elsa and she's walking by, making a snowflake as she walks by. Like those are things they would use those in a variety of promotional ways and throw them on things or like cut them out and use them on something else. But
like subliminal messages.
They would use that and then just chunk them all together and like, here's your bonus feature, which is fine. Like it's kind of like a time capsule of everything that was used to create the film. or to promote the film, and we're just going to tack it all on here. But going back to the actual bonus features and like the making of, to me, that was really the meat and potatoes of those bonus features and the featurettes. That's what I came for. Whenever I'd have to do reviews for the website, I would very quickly breeze through all the promotional materials because that didn't really add anything to my knowledge of the film or my understanding of how this film became what it became. And so I was always really disappointed that they were really short. And then over time, you know, as they're releasing their third and fourth iteration of a Blu-ray, you know, we're on the 65th anniversary edition of Lady and the Tramp or whatever it was at that point when we've just done a 60th and then a 55th. It's like, okay,
what in the
all
world can we
all
add
the 9
to
old
this?
men are no longer with us. Like, let's interview the janitor because he knew Walter. He knew one of the 9 old men. Let's get his story on the making of, because that's all we can really do at this point, you know? So they really started grasping at straws in these later years. And obviously that's for a film that's so old. It's been, you know, they didn't have a lot of this pre-production or production, you know, behind the scenes footage. And so they're just trying to come up with and create new stuff for the releases that they can. However, it was always incredibly disappointing. They would just tack on all of the other features from previous editions, and there'd usually be like 3 or 4 new ones that really had nothing to do with it. Like Cinderella, they had Christian Louboutin, who's a very famous shoe designer. They created a whole campaign with him and just like this little story about this shoemaker in France who, and they just created a dumb little story about how it was around him. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but that literally has nothing to do with Cinderella and the making of the movie. That's what I care about. So
here's what I mean, the snide part of me just says that, you know, somebody in management was like, I want some of his shoes.
There you go.
How do I get free merchandise? Oh, let's interview him. Yes.
Yes, indeed. So it's interesting because now that we've moved into this digital era, I, to be honest, was actually fearful that we would lose this bonus content, especially as even for newer releases, Disney was really getting lazy.
Oh,
you know, for example, for Frozen, I believe it was Frozen, not Frozen. There was a recent one, I can't remember, and they just didn't have a making of on it at all. And people were just completely shocked and flabbergasted. And now I think we know why. It's because, I think it was Frozen 2. Duh! Frozen 2 did not have a making of, and people could not believe it, and everyone was losing their minds. So now, having stepped back, we all can see the grand picture here, because they really, yes, there will be new Blu-rays that come out, and there will be a segment of the population who always will buy those. But that no longer is their motive and their main motivation. Their main motivation is the subscriber model, where you're just continually adding on your base month over month and hoping to get them to stick around by providing new content and exciting stuff. And this is how they are doing it. You know, they create a film, and then a few months later, they release the making of, which would be, you know, the bonus features in our world, right? And so that's how people are sticking around. And Luke mentions The Mandalorian. They've done that with The Mandalorian. People are obsessed with Star Wars and movies in general and anything Disney. And so if you liked that show, of course you would want to keep your membership and watch the making of, because they're doing such a great job with Disney Plus in making sure that the stuff on there is so high quality. Mm-hmm. Whether it's an original production. I mean, there's some films, obviously, due to the circumstances, but even not the circumstances, like Lady and the Tramp live action, that have theatrical budgets that they put simply on the platform, which is a huge investment. Yeah. You know, because it's hard for us to see where's the return on investment with that, because we see ticket sales. But with Disney Plus, it's hard because everything is all blended in. They have thousands of movies. And so what really is drawing that side note, Hamilton, at the time of recording this, is released tomorrow on Disney Plus, and everyone has been freaking out about seeing Hamilton. Many people have still not been able to see Hamilton, and they actually were able to record the original Broadway cast, and it's like you are front row seat seeing Hamilton. And a few weeks ago, they stopped their 1 week free trial of Disney Plus.
Of course.
Because they didn't want people to sign up, watch Hamilton, and then bounce. And I have seen multiple times on social media, like Facebook and Twitter, tons of people saying, hey, I signed up just for Hamilton. And so I can imagine when you have these big draws that people will stick around. And so, so far from what we've seen and the investment that they are putting and just all the shows that they're putting on there, Disney Plus is working out for Disney.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I mean, you're looking at specifically now that they own so much of the content outright. I'm sure that they have in their contracts for a lot of the movies that after so many years, they no longer have to pay certain royalties. Now, not all royalties, but I'm sure certain ones are kind of fall off, right? And
the whole royalty world is so interesting to me.
It is.
I would love someone to do a deep dive on like how royalties work. Like, for example, it just blows my mind that like the stars of Seinfeld still get paid in syndication.
Yeah.
Like, what?
No, yeah.
I don't understand how
if they have a
it works.
lawyer.
But I want to know more.
Right, of course.
Maybe, Chelsea, one nerdy couch discussion, you can just research up. You already know a ton. But really dive into the world of royalties and teach us all about it.
Okay, I will. Okay. We'll do a very in-depth thing because looking into doing a lot more of pitching my own music to different films, I've contacted and been a part with a lot of different of the people who are very successful with it, and so I've learned quite a bit just from that. But there are several aspects of it that I don't understand. So I would like to talk to other people and just like, I don't know, some director or something and just say, so what do you get out of this? Mm-hmm. I just really want to know that kind of stuff. So, I mean, granted, everybody is going to have a different deal. Everybody has, and as my grandma always said, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. And so I'm sure that not everybody had the best negotiations and are therefore not making as much money on any of these repeat viewings via streaming. And also when they were created 60 years ago, they didn't have streaming wasn't even in the, universe.
Vernacular, right.
It was like, huh? And so there was no clauses for that ever. And so you had to, so I'm sure, especially, for example, with music, that was one of the main issues when things moved over to streaming. People didn't have that situated yet. And so you have all these writers who are getting really upset because they were making lots of money when people were selling individual albums. But now that they are only selling singles, and even then you're only getting like a fourth of percentages of a cent instead of 7 cents or it's basically 7 cents per song per album. So multiply that out on a platinum record and people be making lots of money. So yeah, there's a lot of things that changed when when the world of streaming came along. And so you have a lot of people that aren't getting paid and you have a lot of people who are. So there you go.
So going back to the bonus features discussion, I think this absolutely is something that they are going to continue. And we should just 100% expect to no longer see these types of featurettes on any future releases of DVDs. For example, if and when Mulan ever hits theaters and then hits Blu-ray, we won't be seeing a making of Mulan on the Blu-ray. If we will, it will be a very tailored version that's only, 20 minutes long just to say that there's something on there. But the real making of
Disney Plus
will be on Disney Plus. And I wouldn't be surprised if even in the Blu-ray, it like has a commercial for Disney Plus saying like, if you want to see the whole thing, that would personally tick me off. But that I would be surprised. Like, but I absolutely love bonus features. And like Luke said, he has a passion for animation and wants to be in the animation industry. And like Chelsea said, this was just our bread and butter growing up. This was what we lived off of. Back in the day, you couldn't just go on YouTube and someone had uploaded, the rip from the Blu-ray or the DVD. So now you can find behind the scenes of nearly anything. Right. And even the studios, as part of their promotional efforts, sometimes they'll There's these promotional websites that you can go to, and you can just download all this like B-roll footage essentially and behind the scenes stuff to use for part of your promotional efforts for the film as well. And so there's just so much available, and I just love that they're really packing it into this high quality format that is bigger than anything we've really seen before as far as a making of. Now, the one thing that I wish and dream that they would really bring back, and I don't know why this is so hard to do, but the director's commentary. I live for director's commentaries.
I know.
And they really have died over the years, especially with Disney. Is it really that hard to get everyone back in a room? It's not even everyone. It's just the directors, essentially, and maybe a producer or two. Yeah. You don't even need them all, but and a lot of times they stay at the studio, so they're around. So, sorry, rant on that. But I really wish they would bring that back, and that would be something that you could add as like an audio track. You could just, you can change your language. You can just watch the director's commentary like you could on the DVD or the Blu-ray.
Right. Yeah, I wish they would do that on Disney Plus too. I wish you would be able to change lots of stuff on there. But hey, with time, we're hoping.
So yes, we are fans. We will be watching that and coming back with our report next time. Next time, Woo! Not meaning necessarily next time, but in the future.
Sometime in the future, at some point in time, when we...
I want to put it on an appropriate episode, right? So It wouldn't make sense if we were doing like Shrek 4. Heaven forbid.
No. Please no.
And before, hey, we're going to do a nerdy couch discussion on Into the Unknown, the making of Frozen 2.
Right. Please no.
We'll talk.
We'll talk. Okay.
Experience a progressive lens engineered with AI from Essilor, powered by individual measurements of your visual behavior. A lens personalized to you by an Essilor expert. Discover Verilux XR Track and enjoy instantly sharp vision in motion and seamless transitions from near to far. Find your local Essilor expert today at Essilor.com.
This Friday,
Shrek, Donkey, and Puss together again.
It's a whole new mission.
It's top secret. Hush it, hush.
Get ready.
At least you got us to help you out.
I'm doomed. Get set. Get Shrek'd.
Great. Let's get started.
Shrek? You really need to get yourself a pair of jammies.
It's a blast. Oh. It's a gas. It's DreamWorks Shrek the Third.
Yeah, it's spicy.
Rated PG. This Friday.
Oh, let's get Shrek'd.
Oh no. Yes. Okay.
So we are here. We are talking about Shrek the Third. But before we do, let's talk about some general information about the film. Of course, we get this from Box Office Mojo, IMDb, and Wikipedia, where all great internet information about movies is found. So, studio. We are back again, this time with DreamWorks Animation and Pacific Data Images. Directors. It's not the ones from the other film. It is Chris Miller, and no, not that Chris Miller. That is Christopher Miller.
When I saw that, I was like, wait, what?
I did the exact same thing. I was like, wow, this is how he had his start, huh? And then I clicked and I'm like, wait, where's the Lego movie? I don't see any of those. Isn't he the big Lego movie guy? And no.
Yeah.
Nope. There are two Chris Millers in the animation industry who are both directors and have had pretty decent success. Obviously, Christopher Miller, which you might know from the Lego movie, Lego Batman movie, the Into the Spider-Verse. He and Phil Lord are kind of this duo, and they have obviously been very, very successful in the 2010 era of animation. And Chris Miller, his career is a little different. He was the director of Shrek 2. He worked at DreamWorks ever since Ants. He did a few other things in the 90s, but he came on board as a story artist for Shrek, so that was his first introduction into the Shrek series. Then he was head of story for Shrek 2, and then promoted to director for Shrek the Third. He did not come back for the fourth Shrek film, but was, in fact, the director of Puss in Boots. And he has a new film, The Untitled Wish Project, and he is the director for that. So he is still in DreamWorks' good graces, and it's really actually interesting, and I think we'll talk about the changes in director and writers. I was looking at the writers for this, and it was a different writing team. Unfortunately, Andrew Adamson, who I really feel was one of the integral key cogs in the success of Shrek, because again, like we talked about, he was just involved in everything from story to directing to producing. He was doing the Chronicles of Narnia series at this point in time. And I felt, obviously you can't attribute it to one person, but I'm going to. And I'm saying I missed his presence on this, because it was just like The Simpsons, seasons 1 through 10 are great, but once the original writing staff leaves, there's just a change, and you can feel it. The winds have changed, and I feel that with Shrek the Third, and it's no disservice to Chris Miller. And they're actually there's a second director. I don't know why I didn't on IMDb. They're not properly listing him, and the other director was Ramon Hui. I'm probably UI, and he has done a ton of stuff for DreamWorks as well. He was in the animation department for Shrek and Shrek 2, and he's directed a lot of different of the shorts. Shrek Forever After, he went back to storyboard artist, and he was storyboard for Puss in Boots. He has directed a lot of the TV shorts and the shorts, both for Shrek and Kung Fu Panda and Puss in Boots. He's done a lot of those, and so I don't want to forget about him. IMDb or Wikipedia, you need to update, because there are 2 directors on this film. I'm not a Wikipedia updater, but if any of you are in the audience, go fix that. I feel like the one time I updated Wikipedia, someone corrected it and wouldn't let it in, and I was like, forget this.
Yeah, that I tried to do that one time, and I was like, this is way too much effort. I don't care that much.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time talking about the directors, and I think we should mention from last episode, we talked about the directors and Kelly Asbury, who Chelsea had so much great things to say, having talked with him last year. He passed away last week, and it was just a really, really sad news, and so many people were actually really devastated by this, and there were a lot of really wonderful tributes that were given.
There really
and
were.
One of our writers, Carl, he wrote a really wonderful tribute on our website, which I will link in the show notes, but definitely go check that out. And, we are sending prayers to him and his family during this really sad time. He died of cancer, and he had such a legacy on the animation industry and really impacted a lot of people and a lot of lives. And so it's a really sad day that he's no longer with us, but I'm glad that we were able to talk about him, although briefly, in our last episode. So yeah, there we go. So back to the film. I still am not done with our basics about this movie. It came out May 18th, 2007. Budget was $160 million, which, DreamWorks has been bumping that up. So it was just a little bit higher than that of Shrek 2. And box office was $813.4 million. And it's interesting because I look at that and I'm like, meh, that's good. That's definitely a great movie, but not great, because I'm so used to our era right now in the 2020s where $1 billion is a phenomenal
you don't break the billion.
Job.
It's
like
meh.
If you're the $500 to $1 billion range, it's like, okay, that's decent. You definitely made your budget back. Things are good, but it's like, oh man, sucks to be you. You didn't break $1 billion. And but this
gosh.
At the time, you have to think this was 13 years ago. No wonder the fourth film was already greenlit at this time, because this was just a cash cow for them at the time.
It held the highest record for the opening day until Toy Story 3 came out. Shrek 2 held the highest overall, also until Toy Story 3 as well.
And it also held the record for the largest opening day weekend until Finding Dory came out.
Oh, wow.
And I believe that was for an animated film.
Okay.
Not just overall, but...
Right.
So it held that, that was through Frozen, which we know Frozen was a slow burn.
Right.
to get
really
to its billion. Though. But this one, just out of the gate, everyone saw it because you'd seen the first, you'd seen the second, you loved both of them. So you were taking your kids. For sure, we got to see the third one. Got to watch the trilogy.
First one, out of the park. Second one, out of the park. Third one, ooh. Which is, I think, the reason why I didn't see it is because I don't think people came out very positively.
So what were your first impressions of this film?
So when I didn't see this film when it first came out. And so I and I have actually, this is the first time I've ever seen this movie, but I always had a bad taste in my mouth, which I think was why it bled into the full Shrek series other than the first one, just because I kind of associated this. It just felt, my first impressions is this feels like a Disney direct-to-video, except with really good, like, voice cast members, but the story and the cuts and like just lots of the things just didn't work for me.
Yeah, so my recollection of this, I didn't see it when it initially came out, and all I remember of this film was that there was this scene at the end that was a play. I very distinctly remember seeing that. So I don't know where I saw this. Maybe it was on a plane somewhere. I don't know, but I definitely didn't see it in theaters. And I don't remember owning it ever. So I'm very blurry on where I saw this, but obviously I have that memory of the play. So I saw it somewhere. And then obviously that Justin Timberlake was in it. That's all I remember about this film. And I just remember not having liked this film, that it wasn't good and it wasn't enjoyable. So memory is an interesting thing, but like clearly I saw this movie. I sat down and I watched the whole movie, and it was so bad that I pushed it out of my memory, except the fact that there was a play. Man. There you go.
Well, it does start out with a play. It starts out in the wonderful world of dinner theater.
Ooh, yeah, Prince Charming has really sunk to new lows, right?
He's a thespian. Let him have it. No, what's funny is I always get... because my parents, they built a Western dinner theater, but not like this. So like the dinner theater that I grew up performing in was more closer to like, say, watching an episode of the Grand Ole Opry versus going to Disneyland and watching, the Golden Horseshoe. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So there's, they're actually having a play and people are watching while eating and not really paying attention. Ours was more of a, you eat, you're done eating. Okay, now you watch. And so this whole thing, luckily my parents were never, they also were not about to let this whole thing happen as far as like, no, you are watching. So it's just funny when you're watching these things, like people definitely, I've definitely done gigs where I am just background music and I'm like, nope, not my thing. So, the world of dinner theater and background music.
You and
playing.
Prince Charming can relate. You do not want to. You need to be the star. You need to be the center of attention, which is why he comes up with this plan to become the king, because the king has died. Well, let's skip. We skip it ahead. He is dying.
Well, and then he also has the picture of his mom, which, if you would have like focused a little bit more on how he feels now that his mom has died, like that's really
right.
Like, heavy stuff, man. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't seem like he's going through any type of like remorse, or not necessarily remorse. He is, but it's like, oh, mommy, there's
not this grieving that happens. And likewise, there's not really much that happens to him when he dies. There's obviously the moment where they're sad on the fake outs deaths that happens, but then he dies. And the king actually dies, and then we kind of move on very quickly. We don't see the queen in mourning. She's not wearing black. We don't see
Fiona
or Shrek or the mom. No one talks about it anymore. It's just like, we're just moved on. We got to find the heir. Shrek does not want to have anything to do with this. So I wanted to look this up, but I didn't have enough time. I'm very interested now in the different orders of succession that happen in royal lines, because you think typically.
Have you not watched The Crown?
I have watched The Crown.
Okay,
but I have the Wikipedia up right here, which I will also include in the show notes. It's the Wikipedia article on order of succession. But basically, because the typical thing that you think is it passes to the oldest male heir, or primogeniture, as you know. But there also are a lot of different kinds, and literally I just pulled this page up, so I haven't even been able to really dive into it. But we know that there are kinds where it doesn't matter. For example, absolute cognatic primogeniture, which it passes to the eldest child regardless of gender. So this is the one where females can become the heirs to the throne. There's all sorts. It keeps going and going and going, and it has all these diagrams, and I'm so excited to get nerdy and to study this because I think it's so interesting. And clearly theirs is the one where it doesn't necessarily have to pass to the male relative, because if that were the case, it would immediately go to Arthur. It's in this kingdom, it goes to her. And, it's weird to me that all this gets put on Shrek. It's like, oh, you married her, so suddenly you're the king. I'm like, no. He's like the king regent. Yes. So he wouldn't be the king because he's not even royalty. Right. Why is this a deal? Why can't Fiona be the queen and rule, and she could just, she could make it work, right?
Yes.
I'm all about girls having power, so she could come visit the kingdom, or they could just permanently live there. Maybe he could live in the swamp during the summers or whatnot. I don't know. But it becomes the Shrek story very quickly, which the film is called Shrek. But in reality, it should have been Fiona's story. This should have been her decision. She has no say in this at all. It's just kind of, it immediately kind of skips over her to him and the struggle that he has with it. And so goes on this mission to find the next heir, because if you decline it, then it passes on to the next one. But she didn't seem to have a problem with it.
She doesn't
It's very frustrating.
No, yes, this was what I think from the beginning. This was where I was like, wait, what? So at the very beginning, I was like, well, I feel like Fiona should be doing more royal duties. Like, isn't she the princess? And he's just kind of like the addition, the plus one at the party. Like, what is this? And so when they're going through and he's, they're both, and also I've got to say, this clothing gag that they have at the beginning is not their best idea. I was like, why?
It's stupid.
It's so dumb. But the whole secession thing, I love The Crown. I've also watched Victoria on PBS.
I need to watch it. Everyone said
it's so good.
Is it as good as The Crown?
Well, I didn't really like. Okay, side note. I was
tangent time. Tangent time. This is played to the tune of what's the song from Mary Poppins? Step in time.
Tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. Here we go. It's tangent
okay,
time.
Chelsea, your job, because you're the singer, is to create official Tangent Time theme music to Step in Time.
I will.
Okay?
I will.
Please make it happen, and it better be in the final cut of the episode. Thank you very much.
Will do. Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. Here we go, it's tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. Here we go, it's tangent time.
It's so perfect.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So it's tangent time. I didn't really like season 3. Once they got a new queen, I wasn't really a fan of The Crown. But for Victoria, like, I felt like all of them held me really well up until, and they stopped at season 4, but like, and in a really weird place. So I'm just like, I don't know if and when they're planning on pulling that out, but which also annoys me, because it's like when I go through a movie or like a really good, something that's really like binge worthy, I really want to just keep going. And so I don't like starting things if they don't have like a full like ending. So anyway, that's me. But end of tangent. Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. That was our tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. That was our tangent time.
What were we tangenting about?
Duties, yes. So I feel like Fiona really got the short end of the stick, and it didn't make sense. Like, in what world is this that Shrek of all of them would all this be thrown onto him? And then also the Queen and the Frog, I was really confused at that one too, because I was like, okay, was the frog the actual prince, or was like, and he married a princess, or he married just somebody, or was because does that mean that he was a frog prince, or was he a prince turned into a frog and then needed a kiss, but then got turned? I was so confused. Why is he a frog in this still? Apparently, she never kissed him.
Right. She did kiss him.
She did?
I edited this out of the last podcast.
Oh.
Yes, because
When did she kiss him?
She kisses him. So he wants to be part of his deal with the fairy godmother was that he could be a human.
Uh-huh.
And so she curses him so that way, or she does some sort of spell so that it enables when she kisses him, he turns into a human.
Okay.
So she does kiss him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when she died, just that power went away.
I don't know. It's again, the fairy godmother's power does it
knows no
extends past death, or I don't know. But going back to the mom, I mean, apparently in this secession, if the king dies,
she's
the queen.
She's the queen mom, but she's not.
Yeah, she doesn't. She doesn't become, it doesn't just pass on to her until she dies. So making it seem that maybe she wasn't the royal blood to start out with, it was him. And so since she didn't, it's sort of like with Shrek, right?
Yeah.
They married in. They're not actually the rulers. They're not the actual royal blood. So no, you're not going to be ruling the kingdom. So again, it's not even a discussion that the queen will rule it. Again, some monarchies and secession plans, that's the way it goes. But it was all very muddy.
It was so bad.
Swamp muddy. Like this is we're what 15 minutes into the film, and this is
start the film.
This is what we're discussing. I mean, I'm sure no one else had an issue with this at all. Maybe,
but you got to start with something that's believable, and that just wasn't.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big problems. So I was thinking about this film. I'm like, okay, so Shrek 1 and Shrek 2. Shrek 1, he's living his life. He's an ogre. Uh-huh. He loves being an ogre. Yes. Everyone hates him, and he's just living life. He's farting in his swamp, and he's just being gross, being nasty, and that is Shrek. Uh-huh. And guess what? They've taken his swamp, and it's time for him to get it back. And so he is 100% self-interested, and that's all that Shrek is about, is getting his swamp back. So he goes on this adventure to save the princess, but he doesn't care about the princess. He just wants his swamp back.
Right.
And along the way, meets the princess and falls in love, and it ends up being a happy story, and he gets what he wasn't looking for. Uh-huh. This kind of goes along that path where Shrek, being 100% self-interested, goes on a journey to get back what he had, which essentially is not being a ruler, not being king. So doing everything in his power to find something that can make that go away.
Right.
And so it follows a very similar path, which I think is interesting that they separate him from Fiona and they make the Shrek's journey. But it is just, no one cares. No one cares about Shrek. And
it's,
he's bummed out that he has to be king. Wah, wah, like, I don't know. That something was off with it, that it just didn't have a connection to Shrek at all. Like, and also with the first film and the second film, I feel like there were so many pop culture references. And I was actually looking at the IMDb, the Rotten Tomatoes, which is actually interesting because I thought that this film did not have hardly any pop culture references like the first and second one did. And I was looking on Rotten Tomatoes, and it says as the critics' consensus, which I love looking at that because they very concisely state what all the critics basically say. Yeah. It says, Shrek the Third has pop culture pop shots galore, but at the expense of the heart, charm, and wit that made the first two Shreks classic. And I was actually really confused by that because I didn't feel that there was tons of these pop culture references like the other two. But I think what it's missing is that it doesn't have, like I said, it didn't have the heart. It's not charming. And one of the things that made Shrek great was how it took all of these fairy tales and just spun them on their head. And yes, there were bigger fairy tales that play a big part. It was just the one-off gags that happened in the first film that were just so funny because all of these various fairy tale characters were there. And I felt like they maybe just ran out of gags, and so they weren't going back to the fairy tale well at all.
Yeah.
And I missed it. Like, there are a few, obviously, like new things that were introduced to the princesses, which are a high point, I think. but there wasn't just these like Little Bo Peep lost her sheep, or like Little Miss Muffet on her, eating curds and whey. Like, I feel like there were so many more little fairy tale gags and jabs that they could have done just to make you laugh. This wasn't funny.
It wasn't.
We go to a high school, and I'm like, how cliche is going to the high school? It's called Worcester. Oh, haha, funny. And it was just so lame.
It was so lame. And it was at that point where there's a point where I was like, okay, what is going on with this whole, like, and also, so many things.
So many.
Okay, here's one of the first things. So it's like the queen, it didn't feel like she knew what was going on. Like, you bring in Julie Andrews for what, a 15-minute read through, and you give her like 12 lines. That is a lot of money to pay to Julie Andrews for nothing, and like not to give her a part at all. And then she doesn't know who the heir is. Only the king seems to know who the heir is. And she's just kind of like, whatever. And then you have this Fiona just seems like she's lost all of her pep. Like, she doesn't make any decisions in this whole thing. And she's like, really, Shrek? But okay, whatever. She's like there's just that was not Fiona in the first one. And I feel like with each consecutive film, she got less and less Fiona, and that annoyed me. And then you have the moment they stepped into the high school, I was just like, I've lost all interest.
Yeah,
this was the moment where I'm kind of done, and I'm just not really that interested anymore. And then it's like they bring in John Krasinski to play Lancelot for what, again, like 5 lines. Like, what?
Right.
I don't get it.
It's funny. They really have a great time playing off this medieval high school versus a fairy tale high school, which Shrek was all about the fairy tale, but they really honed in on the fact that it was medieval, and the jokes were so lame.
Well,
the jokes were so lame, exactly, because it was like, how could we change this so it says thy instead of, you?
I suck it.
It's just...
yes.
Dumb jokes like that. That is not what Shrek is, okay? So, yeah, we go on this dumb adventure to go rescue Arthur, who... Justin Timberlake...
Not good. Not good.
He was not good. He was having to play a little dweebish high school kid, so he was doing his best. But the character was not appealing. I did not like Arthur at all, or Artie, as you will.
Yeah, no, I think one of the main things I disliked is everybody in this was trying to shirk their responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And everyone in here was just trying to push it onto somebody else and just felt very lazy. And
yeah, in that case, give it to Charming.
Yeah.
He wants the job.
Right. Like, nobody seems to want this, and like, why?
He at least has a prince title. Somehow.
Yeah, right. Like, how did he come with that? He's just prince of the factory
of the fairies.
Yeah. But I mean, everybody in this film, like even Fiona, there's no real desire. She's a flat character. You have Shrek, who even seems flat in this. Like, when you have this time where he realizes that he's gonna have kids, and then he's just like, that's great, okay. And then he goes into this this whole dream sequence. I got one more tangent time.
Tangent time.
Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. Here we go, it's tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. Here we go, it's tangent time. Do you remember that YouTube video where the guy is trying to like mess with his roommate by like putting all those rubber ducks everywhere in the bathroom? And like,
I do not.
Oh, it's amazing. You have to look at it. I don't even know what you would look for other than rubber ducks, bathroom, like roommate. I don't know. Those are probably the same ones. But he basically just like, he has several of these rubber ducks. And then the roommate's like, hey, can you get rid of your rubber ducks? And he's like, sure. And then the next day, there's more rubber ducks. And he starts like he starts like reenacting different movements and like shaping them into things, and like they're all of a sudden there becomes like he's just like gets rid of all of them and he just puts one giant rubber duck in their bathroom. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing at this so much.
Had to be there.
You need to look it up and then go back and watch this because it's amazing. Anyway,
Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. That was our tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. That was our tangent time.
so all of Shrek's reasonings, he doesn't really give reasonings as to why he's just kind of like, I don't want to be a dad. That seems like too much responsibility. I just want to go back to my hut with, it'll just be you and me. That's it. You know, it's like, I mean, he does go in and he says, oh, you know, my dad was terrible. He tried to eat me as a kid. So obviously I'm going to be a terrible dad too.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't feel like there's no movement forward and there's no main goal. And he just feels like he's trying to shirk everything still. And somebody's got to care.
Different with the first film, where it wasn't him like getting rid of responsibility, it was just him claiming what was his and getting that back. Well, this one was just, I don't want this. Yeah, so it's kind of off-putting, where it's incredibly, even more so, very selfish what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
So I think we've hit that dead horse quite a bit. And yeah, you know, they introduced a few new characters, but we got Merlin, who's just wonky.
Oh my gosh. Like, the only reason Merlin is there is to fill plot holes. Like, we don't know how to move this plot forward and to maybe add one extra gag. Let's throw Merlin in there, but make him like, you know, an old magic teacher that just is like went defunct.
Yeah,
what?
Again,
it's
with
so weird.
Shrek, they're known for taking these fairy tales and spinning them on their head, and it wasn't really, there was nothing really spun with Arthur. You know, Arthur was a young kid in that, and then, you know, Merlin wasn't that different from even like the Disney version, where he was kind of wonky and, you know, he was totally weird in this one, but yeah, it just wasn't fun as I was watching it. It was kind of a bummer. You know, even I've been trying to track the progression of Puss in Boots, this character that just became so iconic that he needed his own movie. And what was there in this film that made you want more Puss in Boots? He has a bigger role, obviously, and he's now one of the gang that travels along with them. But he didn't really have a moment. Like, the only moment I can think of is when they switch souls and bodies, I guess, and he tries to do his classic cat eyes, but he's donkey. That was a funny moment, and I did laugh. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just felt like there were too many storylines and I just didn't care.
So, talking positive.
Okay.
The characters that I did love, actually, were the women. So, the ugly stepsister, after we recorded, I texted you, and I was like, I think we were still on the line, but we weren't recording anymore. And I'm like, oh no, I forgot to talk about the ugly stepsister. I am so bummed. I love her.
Yeah.
She's hilarious. She's ironic. She's funny.
Yeah.
It's the ugly stepsister, and you look at her and she's not attractive, and she really has sort of drag queen features. Right? Like, she is not what you think of, right? But she's so perfect, and her voice is so perfect that I love her so much. And I'm so glad that she came back and had a bigger role. And she did join the ladies for a bit, which I just love. And so then that leads me to the next one, which were the princesses. So in the Shrek 2, we kind of, as they're going down the boulevard of Far, Far Away, it's like, oh, there's Rapunzel's tower and Cinderella's over there. You know, we see their different gates for their mini kingdoms, if you will. Yeah. And I thought that they were able to spin the characters of the princesses, because when people think princesses, Disney has cornered the market. So they have to make them different. Yeah. But they made them similar but different enough that you really got a kick out of it. Like, my favorite by far was Amy Poehler as Snow White. I thought she was so funny because she was such a freaking brat.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved how snotty, rude, and mean she was. She was a mean girl.
Yeah.
So Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And the Sleeping Beauty character was boring and did typically what you expect Sleeping Beauty to do.
Right.
And then Rapunzel actually was funny-ish.
That was a weird character too,
had a bit of a turn, which was unexpected.
Yeah. Well, I didn't feel like they built that turn up enough. So it was just weird.
Because we didn't get to know her that well.
Yeah, I was like, huh? I don't care. But okay, what did you think about the she power like scene where they all decide, well, girls, now it's our time? What were your thoughts?
And they go lay down and wait to be rescued.
That one, I did like that moment. I did. But the way it was just like, it turned around and Fiona was just like, no, now we are going to have to take care of ourselves. And I was just like, okay, that's kind of like gag me tropey type thing, like how you're doing this. But then you like have Julie Andrews, the queen, come back and she's like, oh, where did you get your fighting powers? You didn't get it from your father. And she's like blowing headbutts into the wall. Like, what the?
So that was stupid. It was just,
I thought so too, yes.
It didn't make sense. I don't know.
And at that point in time, I can see that they're kind of wrapping it up. Like we're moving forward. And I look at the time and I'm like, oh no, I still have 25 minutes left.
Yeah. So this is probably around the same point where I was looking at the clock and I thought, wow, people had to watch this film daily in dailies.
Oh my gosh.
In animation. And probably watch so many different versions of this film. How did they think it was good?
Yes.
How were they okay with what this was?
I don't know.
Do you just get so sucked in your world that you just like love your ugly babies, essentially?
Yeah.
And you just can't see outside of it? I don't know. And I read that Andrew Adamson, he was like kind of an executive producer on the film, but he only was able to check in on the movie every 4 months because of what he was doing with Chronicles of Narnia. And I was like, boy, I imagine 4 months goes by and he's like, what have we here? How has this happened?
What do I do now?
It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
How would you have fixed this?
I don't know. I mean, because
no high school, no medieval high school. Cut it. It's dumb.
Yeah.
If Fiona went all in,
yes,
and embraced her duty,
yes,
right? If she would have been stepping up and doing all these amazing things, and Shrek was the one dragging his heels, not wanting to, and then it could put strain on their relationship because she's doing what's dutiful and what, her birthright is and what she's expected to do. Don't even bring Arthur into this.
No, yeah.
I mean, you could, but that's the main conflict, is that she's stepping up, and maybe he leaves and says, well, maybe if she knows that there's someone who can take her place, she'll do it. And so he leaves and kind of abandons her, leaving everything on her shoulders, and has to go and find this guy. Not a medieval high school. Thank you very much. Somehow finds him somewhere else, a normal castle.
Right.
And I don't know. I feel like that would have added so much more to the characters and their relationship versus like, okay, we need to separate them and he's going to go off and find this guy.
Yeah. I didn't feel like it was, I think that really is what it should have been. It really should have been her story. It should have been a little, maybe contention in there, or maybe she did get pregnant right around there and they didn't have to move into the castle right away or something. Like it just felt like there was no addition by anyone else other than the main three trio, which is
a shame because Fiona is such a strong character.
Yes.
And she really stands out for animation heroines.
Yes.
So it's a shame that she's just been pushed aside to this role of lady in waiting.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's totally how it is. And I'm not generally the person that says I need more
girl power.
Right. Like, I don't like it when they create girl power movies for the sake of doing a girl power movie. I feel,
for example, like the movie that I am in the middle of watching right now, the new Charlie's Angels, which Charlie's Angels has always been girl power.
Right.
But for some reason, this one feels like extra dose
of
girl power. It's
oh, no.
weird. Well, especially, yeah.
Well, it's like, why?
That's for another podcast.
Yeah. It's like, why did I enjoy Wonder Woman so much? Because she didn't know she was girl power.
She just was.
And she just was who she was. And everyone else just let her be. And they didn't question her because, you know, if you act confident, people expect to, how does it go? There's a quote. People of integrity expect to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right. There's that. And then there's also the quote that says, people treat you how you expect to be treated or how you allow them to treat you. And that is really how it is. And so when you see movies where they feel like they have to overcome this chip on their shoulder, it's just off-putting to me. Like, you're trying too much. You should just know who you are, and you should just step forward and be a person of integrity and expect to be believed. And as opposed to just being like, well, I'll show you, and I'm going to put all the men in their place. Like, it's just like, what are you, why? There's no need to put somebody down in order to bring yourself up. And I feel like that is my main issue with like the girl power movies. And going into this movie, I just felt like they didn't really care about the script. And that's really where it was. So when it came down to, oh, well, you know, who are our main heroes? It's going to be the trio, because those are the ones that we get to make, the McDonald's toys for. Everybody loves Donkey. Gotta get Puss in Boots in there. Everyone loves Shrek. And so instead they focus on that and like, oh yeah, we'll add some kids into the mix. Why not? You know, it just felt like a McDonald's like list of what do we want in toys? Okay, now make the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we kind of wrap up with the one thing that stands out in my memory of this film, which is the big scene of the play. So everything comes full circle.
Oh, wait, one more thing.
But just on steroids.
One more thing, where he said there's a moment where Shrek, it basically tells Archie exactly what had happened and says, I only told you to come because I was looking for an idiot to come and take my place because I didn't want it. Like, he literally tells him completely the truth, and then he feels bad about it. But we don't feel bad for him because you told him the truth. Like, you weren't hiding this, and you're a bad person. You should feel bad. And then you see later where Donkey and Puss in Boots are like, oh no, he only said that to save your life. What? Oh, he does love me. No, he said it because it was the truth. Like, it was just, it was weird. Like, what? So that was what really bothered me, because I was like, no, this is weird. So anyway, they end up having this play. Yeah, and everything comes full circle. Shrek is the star of the play, and he just upstages Charming, which Charming is not here for, which really goes to show and kind of paints the picture that people either respect you or they don't. Yeah. And at this point, people had come to respect Shrek enough, and we're not really sure on the human peasants, their relationship with Prince Charming. Did they think he was one of them and they accepted him, or was he just like a bad guy who had a failed attempt and so they're kind of suspicious of him? I don't know. But we can tell right away that they just start laughing at him. So they kind of perceive him as we, the audience, perceives him, which is just this dopish buffoon almost, where he's dastardly and he really puts a plan in action to get a lot done. But then he's just really goofy at times. Yeah. We hear the slow-mo hair flip thing again, which it's just lost its steam. I mean, we keep going kind of back to the same well with these characters. Like, he was so funny in the second film or in the second movie, and he was a bad guy, but not really. He was kind of like a neutral character, if you will. He was more just a tool for the fairy godmother. Yeah. And so we left, obviously feeling bad for him, but not too sad, And in this one, the mom's dead, so he has revenge. And so he's definitely much more of a chip on his shoulder. Yeah. But he's still he's like a Rasputin type villain now, where we've just been given this goofy side of him that we can't really take him seriously. And obviously even the audience in the play can't take him seriously. So I struggled with him. I was excited to see him back, but
it just didn't quite work. He either needed to just drop the goofy facade with the hair flip and all of that, like just drop it. Like, this is a new Charming, and he's not funny.
Right.
He's not funny at all. He's not goofy. He's not gimmicky, and means business. And he would actually pose like a serious threat instead of working in a dinner theater where people don't pay attention to him. And why don't they take me seriously? I feel, I mean, it was funny once, but then it got old and stale. So I feel like if they just would have committed to maybe more a sinister villain, it would have made the stakes higher, and we could have had a better resolution instead of just feeling so kind of off about this film.
Then there's the part where Archie comes up and he's basically gives his whole, like, what's your dream, guys?
We need to insert Rapunzel from the 2010 Disney film. I got a dream. I got a dream. I mean, she would have totally fit.
Right. Go live your dream. I will. Not you. Your dream sucks. But it did feel like that. I mean, I did like what he said as far as it. I agreed with, out of all of the moments in this, that's the only moment that actually was a moment of truth of, like, you are standing in your own way. Like, you know, the world is what you make of it. And so, yeah, it was just interesting. But at the end, I was like, I would be really ticked if I were Fiona, because Shrek just gave away her birthright. And then that baby montage, so long.
Oof, yeah. Can I go back to the princesses real quick?
Let's go back to the princesses.
So they were the highlight, really, because they were unique and fresh. Like, that's what we said. That's what makes Shrek exciting, is that there's this spin that they take on the classic fairy tales as you know it. And so they do this to the characters. And then they kind of have this girl power moment where it's this montage of them storming the castle. And we have this scene right before that where Snow White is singing to the birds. And it's definitely inspired by Snow White's song, for sure. You can hear it, and then they, take just enough notes away to not have copyright and instead have it be parody. And it was funny, but I'm like, again, we've done this before. That was Fiona's joke in the first film. She did that. She was pretending to be Snow White, essentially. She was doing the Snow White thing, singing the bird, but they flipped it on its head, where something you don't expect, where she sings so high, the bird explodes. And then she eats the eggs for breakfast.
Right.
Like, they keep going with that gag, and it's hilarious.
That was a good gag. Even now I'm laughing.
It's good! And then here, they're like, well, we have Snow White. She sings to animals, so let's have her do it. And it's like, okay, well, we've seen this before. What are you going to do to make it fresh? And so at the very end, she kind of like turns the birds all on them, and they go into the Barracuda song. And it just was they should have flipped Snow White on her head in that moment. Like, they shouldn't have used the birds and animals. They should have done something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just another example of just missed opportunities with these fairy tale characters. They kind of went away from that. There were hardly any moments of fairy tale gags, I thought. I love those gags.
Yeah.
They are so, so funny. And another thing that was a huge disappointment in this film was the soundtrack, the music. Couldn't tell you one song other than Barracuda, but it was just like, anytime music played, I wasn't amped up or jazzed or excited. I was like, what's this? It wasn't good. And I'm really sad that I'm so negative on this film.
We don't like being negative, but at the same time, I feel
like we're fans. Like, fans like to hear, I've always said this, people who listen to podcasts, if they're listening for something, it's because they're typically a fan.
Yes.
And they want to hear other people gush over what they love. And so it makes me sad as an animation fan to have to review this movie, and I'm just not finding a lot of positives in it.
Right. Which makes, it's hard because when I listen to it, I also just want to have fun with the people talking. Like, I listen to people because I want to just laugh with them, And so there's a lot of points where it's like, generally when we do movies, we like to know that we're going to laugh along with it. But we try, even for movies like this where we're not totally fans, like, we try not to like hound on it. Even though we probably failed miserably on this. But yeah, to go along with it, the music of this, I was like, they were not that great songs. And like,
no,
they didn't really go.
And to top it all off, you bring Justin Timberlake.
Yes!
The head man of NSYNC himself. This whole time I'm like, okay, he's definitely going to have an end credit song. It's Justin Timberlake. And he doesn't have anything. There's no original number. There's nothing original, I believe, at all in this film as far as music goes. There's nothing original created, which isn't, occasionally they'll do that. Like the Fairy Godmother song, they did. And Fiona's song in the first film. But for the most part, it's just songs that you and I know, and it's a great soundtrack to listen to. But they didn't bring him back, and I'm so confused. And I'm looking at his filmography. I'm like, was this when he was moving into like, I'm an actor and I'm not a singer? But no, the Future Sex Love Sounds album came out in 2006. This came out in 2007. He was touring in 2007. So he was definitely actively promoting music at that time, even though he was beginning also to move into more films.
I feel like if you're going to put Justin...
What happened here? If you're going to get Justin Timberlake, who is known first and foremost and always will be as a singer.
Yes. Yeah.
Get him back on the payroll and write him a darn song.
Let him write himself a song. Like, that...
Look,
that is something...
DreamWorks figured it out 9 years later for Trolls when they brought him back, and he sang multiple songs. Yeah. And look what that did for them.
Look what it did.
Good things. So I'm not saying that a Justin Timberlake song could have saved this film, but it wouldn't have hurt.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they would have changed the character to be a Justin Timberlake, then Hunk, like...
Why could... Yeah.
Yes!
But then he would have been another love interest sort of character, which we'd already established in the last film that she is not going to be swayed. Thank goodness, because she's married.
Right.
But...
Right. No, and that's not that's not what I was really thinking, but it's like, you could have turned this into such a different thing. Like, even, like, Justin Timberlake is...
Where was Sir Justin from the second movie? Yes! Why did it have to be Artie? Why just lean into it and bring Sir Justin back, where he's a pop star.
Right.
Like, it would have been funny.
It would have been hilarious. And I think that he would have been able... Like, he's a funny guy in general. And so if they would have let him just be Justin Timberlake, and I don't know if he was trying to be like an actor, but I kind of, when you start to like different characters and you start to like different like celebrities, you kind of like them for their own reasons. Like you feel like you have a little bit of a connection with that character that they play. And so you kind of want to see it perpetuated in other ways. And I get why some people wouldn't want that, but I also feel like when the role sucks, pull some of what you got in there. Like, I mean, I think Aladdin, the new one with Will Smith, they could have leaned more into Willie, They really could have leaned more into Will Smith for the genie, especially for the music. Like, they should have just had him rap. That would have been great. Like, do Will.
They kind of did with A Friend Like Me. That is definitely a more rappy version.
It is.
Hip-hop than the Robin Williams one.
Right. I just,
but yeah.
I just feel like when you have somebody who's as dynamic and engaging and just like that type of personality, just let them do their thing and don't make them be a whiny baby who's trying to like get out of high school.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, guys. I really am.
So let's turn this on you guys.
Okay.
I polled the Facebook group, I polled our patrons, and I said, this was just as unoriginal as it gets. I didn't want to bait the audience with, like, thumbs up or thumbs down, or what you got. Yeah, I didn't want to give any perception that I didn't like this movie, so I just said, thoughts on Shrek 3? Question mark. And oh boy, it's only been an hour, and we already have so many questions, so I will read them.
Oh, yes, please.
Right. Ryan Campbell says, meh, it's not a bad movie. It's just kind of forgettable, especially after Shrek 2. That was one of the few perfect sequels. Unfortunately, the third couldn't continue the trend. Agree there. I gave that a like.
I totally agree.
Alex Beavis. The least remembered of the four. I think I have watched that one the least. Interesting. I have not seen 4, so this makes me somewhat hopeful for the next one. Amy Freeland, she has a great comment. She says, I enjoy all of the Shrek movies, though I feel the quality declines with each installment. I love Shrek 1, really like Shrek 2, like Shrek 3. Shrek 4 is meh. I just rewatched all 4 of them about a month ago, and yet I find myself trying to recall the storylines of Shrek 3 and 4. Facepalm.
That's bad. That is so bad.
Fun enough while watching them, but ultimately forgettable.
Yeah.
Angelo Thomas, I know is a big Shrek fan.
Uh-huh.
I always see him posting about, like, when are we getting Shrek 5? And he said the worst of the 4, but still not bad. So, not bad. I mean, I think they would have had totally different takes, Amy and Angelo, if they were on the podcast.
Yeah.
Josella says, I did like seeing the princesses team up and escape their prison cell. That was my favorite part of the movie. Mm-hmm. Rachel Wagner, our very own Rotten Tomatoes approved critic, said, I hated it. I was really mad leaving the theater and haven't seen it since. I feel you, girl.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it since. Man, that's kind of crazy because I feel like Rachel's seen a lot of movies and I'm surprised she hasn't come back to that one. Good thing we didn't have Rachel on this episode because then it would be just a total negative fest. Rachel will bring you back on a better one.
Yeah, right.
Sol Carlos said, I love the scene the princesses start fighting like Marvel characters. Also, the innuendos are great. The rest is very much meh. There you have it, guys. Straight from the patron's mouth.
There we go.
It seems like it's a meh. So.
Another cool thing is you just said that Rachel is a Rotten Tomatoes approved. We just added another Rotten Tomatoes writer to our list, Gary Wright, who's been with one of the OG followers and then turned into a contributor and is now a Rotten Tomatoes that's so cool. Critic. I'm so excited for him and for all of the people who have been able to work with the site. That's just so cool. I'm so proud. I'm like, oh, yay.
Chelsea, I feel like you are delaying the inevitable. It is now time.
Oh.
What would you rate it?
2 stars. It wasn't as bad as 1 star, but the fact that I was like, oh, come on now. I just felt like there was a lot that didn't make sense from the very beginning, and I just didn't get a lot out of it. So 2 stars.
I'm hovering between 2 and 2.5, but I'm just going to give it 2. I feel that it was really unmemorable, and I think even after this, all I remember from this film is that there's a big play at the end, and Justin Timberlake's in it. I think over the years I'll forget all this stuff about Fiona and the girl power and the princesses, even though that is the highlight. The princesses by far seem to be a little shining star in this. There's so much more they could have done with them. But yeah, just a huge missed opportunity all around for the character of Fiona. Mm-hmm. I feel like they really went off in the wrong direction with Shrek. They skipped over the mom. They skipped over Fiona. Really made them seem like secondary characters when this should have been Fiona's movie. Yeah. I liked in the second one that we really do get to see the 2 sides of what's going on in Fiona's life and the struggle that she's having being back. She's, again, it's the duty thing. Right. I guess maybe we've seen that before, but this could have been a totally different take on it. And Shrek, again, I don't know. How many times can you go back to that well? I don't know. But it just didn't work in this iteration. And I really miss the fairy tale gags. They needed just more one of those quick, witty one-liners. And this movie did not do it for me. And I'm really bummed that I didn't like it. So 2 stars.
Wah, wah.
From what everyone says, the 4th one is better, but not as good as the first 2. So I've never seen it. And I'll have to wait until I do.
Okay. Well, I mean, I do appreciate, I like knowing that it gets better because that would just be sad. But I do have a positive thing to say. I felt like the skin mapping was a lot better on this one, and I was watching on different parts where they do close-ups of skin, and I was like, they did a good job. Looking at 2007, I mean, it's not that far away, but it is still pretty far after the originals came out, and so you just kind of see the progression. You're like, good job, guys, you improved.
That's awesome. All right, let us know what you thought. Go to rotoscopers.com/184. Let us know in the comments. We are eager to hear your reviews.
Every time I look at at you, you always look so beautiful. Driving on the road again, the Chevy's packed and it is dust. And I will take some photographs so I can dream of you.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Animation Addicts podcast. It was fun to do Shrek back to back, though I cannot promise we will be heading back to the Shrek well anytime soon. We still are waiting on what the status of Mason is. I'm not even going to just promise anything at this point, but
you got
so
us.
Chelsea, I guess it's up to us to pick a movie to review. Do you want to go back to Shrek 4
No.
while we're at
I
it?
don't.
Bang these all out?
I don't.
Or do you need a breather and let's do something else?
Yeah, let's do something else. What should we do? Where's
Movie
the
ideas.
list?
Klaus into the Spider-Verse. We've done that short future dog series. I've written to quite a few of these. Charlotte's Web.
Oh, the original.
Bedmouse and Broomstick.
Are we talking about the original?
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't mind doing that one.
Let's do that. Let's like kick it like way different studio. I grew up on that movie.
I did too.
Okay. So our next episode, if Mason is not back, is going to be Charlotte's Web. Yes, you heard us right. The Charlotte's Web from, I believe, the 70s?
Yeah, it's...
That is the one.
Forever ago. But I mean, I just have a couple songs in my head from that I'm like, oh.
Terrific, terrific, terrific.
Yes, that one. Also, the fair is a veritable smorgasbord. Oh,
no.
After the crowds have ceased. I'm excited. Oh, wow, yeah.
This is going to be a good one. Yeah, I feel like this is one that we grew up watching as youngsters.
did.
And so as a result, nostalgia goggles are on.
Yes.
Which typically nostalgia goggles means positive viewing experience.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because, you know, we've done a lot of the bigger studios recently. And so now it's time to go to the smaller school.
Like, we haven't...
check out what they have to offer.
Yeah, we haven't done anything...
Like, super independent.
Oh, yes. We haven't done something that independent and even that just nostalgic, you know, since, like, before we went on hiatus. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think like, Watership Down is kind of in that caliber.
Yes, it's the exact same type of animation,
same era.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which I should
Cool.
watch that movie again.
This is from 1973. I'm excited. This is going to be awesome. So make sure to send in your voicemails, rotoscopers.com/voicemails, or of course, we live in the modern times. You can just send us a voice memo on your phone. Send an email to contact@rotoscopers.com. Make sure to have your subject line say voicemail and then the episode or what movie you're sending a voicemail for. And we appreciate it. So get ready. Now, of course, always in our hopper, we have Toy Story 4. So make sure you've caught up on that. And we will be doing our Sailor Moon rewatch in the near future. I still need to start.
Me too.
Maybe I'll start that tonight, but then I want to start Into the Unknown, the making of Frozen 2. So I'm torn. But there are 43 episodes of Sailor Moon, so I need to get on that sooner rather than later. But that will be a fun time. Be sure for all the show notes, all the links, everything that we talked about in this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/184. So Chelsea and I actually are going to be watching Into the Unknown, and we will be releasing our hot takes on that and all of our thoughts as a patron exclusive episode. So if you want to hear us review a making of behind the scenes series.
Oh, how meta can you get?
This is like I'm a Twihard and, you know, re-sparked my Twilight passion.
Yes.
And so I was looking to see if there's any Twilight podcasts, and one that I was listening to, it's not good.
Oh.
I do not recommend. It's like, just because anyone can podcast does not mean anyone should podcast. So, but I was looking at their list, and they are doing a commentary on the New Moon commentary. Which actually makes sense, because if you know anything about Twilight, you know that the commentaries are actually ridiculously epic because Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, they basically make fun of it the whole time. It's really funny. So, yeah, so this is kind of in that same vein. where we're reviewing, not a commentary, but we will be reviewing
the making
that
of
series and making of and giving all of our thoughts. So if you're interested, go to rotoscopers.com/patron to sign up to get that exclusive episode. And with that, you know where to find us. I'm at Morgan Stradling everywhere. Chelsea is at Chelsea Robson everywhere. Be sure to tag us when you're listening to this episode. And that's all I have for now. Until next time, we are the Rotoscopers. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. We're your horses. No. Start this again.
I love horses.
I think when we were talking about, what movie were we talking about? And it was only, wait, hold on, rewind. What movies have we done recently? Shrek 2. What was the one right before that?
Podcast. Every episode ever. Let's see.
What movie did we talk about? It was only like 50 million was the budget. We were like, whoa.
We had Spider-Man. We had Princess on the Pauper. Well, Princess on the Pauper was like nothing.
Was it Shrek 2, maybe? Shrek 2?
Trolls, World War Trolls.
I don't know. I'm just going to
Tangled
ignore that.
series, Chris Sonneberg, Little Mermaid 2,
think of
Lady and the Tramp,
that we would have
Onward.
Had a $50 million budget. Definitely not Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper.
Oh,
okay,
man.
Scratch that. Let's go back. It surpassed Shrek 2, which had done phenomenal for Pixar. But then it was just the one-off gags. Hold on, Siri's talking to me. Quiet you.
Quiet you. I haven't left my house more than to go to Walmart in like a while. So I've been watching a lot. I've been reading a lot. I've been watching a lot of videos and YouTube things. And as I mentioned, I started going through the book Wild Swans again. Because that one is it's an awesome book. Yeah, so I feel like I'm good, but at the same time I look outside, I'm like, is there a world outside my house? I don't know.
It's all an illusion.
It's all an illusion. Oh man. This is one more tangent time video. Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. Here we go, it's tangent time. Never need a reason, never need a rhyme. It's blooper. Tangent time. You said you were a twihard, like you were ashamed of it. Morgan, no.
I'm not ashamed. If the amount of times that I text Chelsea every day about my different things that I'm... But this sounds weird, but
you're digging into.
Yeah, that I'm looking up about Twilight or rediscovering about Twilight. Like my inner Twihard has been awakened with this Midnight Sun announcement.
Yes.
I reread all of the books. There's 6 books technically. I've reread all of those, and I rewatched all the films. I've gone back and probably watched every single Kristen Stewart interview on YouTube. I've gone down a Kristen Stewart rabbit hole. Yeah, so that is my new obsession. That's actually probably why I haven't watched Into the Unknown yet, because I'm like really into Twilight now. And the great thing about Twilight is that people loved Twilight in the late 2000s, 2005 to about 2008, before the movies came out. So then as soon as the movies came out, it propelled it to just even greater heights than it had before. And then came the hate.
Right.
Because the characters are very interesting in the books. You know, like Bella is supposed to be literally the most ordinary person in the world, yet she's so important to Edward, and that's the whole point.
Right.
Like, she can't see that, and it doesn't make sense why he sees so much in her, but like they're connected, they're soulmates. And so Kristen Stewart really does a great job in portraying this pretty boring character with like weird mannerisms and like super funky, and people just say she's a bad actress. And you know, you can send me all the hate mail you want, guys, but like it was very popular at the time, from like 2008 to 2015-ish, I guess, to hate on Twilight. Like it was the thing.
Right.
Like, the writing sucks. It's a YA novel, okay? It's a YA novel. and just accept it for what it is.
If you're going to hate on something, just feel like change the channel.
Right. I guess that's what we should have done for this episode.
I know.
But there has been a Twilight renaissance recently where I feel like there's been enough time removed from the last movie that came out in 2012 that people kind of like they put their Twilight obsession away, and now within the past few years people are dusting it off again. And it's now cool to like Twilight, like unironically like Twilight now. And I feel so many people are just more open about it because the haters have gone away. They've moved on to other things.
Right.
And now we can like just be ourselves again and be like, yeah, I like Twilight. So there you go, guys.
Yes.
I like Twilight, and I got Chelsea into Twilight.
She did, yes. I, as you know, with most of the things that I get into, they generally start with Morgan shoving it in my face.
As you said on our Tangled episode, saying, like this, watch this.
Watch this, you're gonna like it, okay?
Read it.
You're right, I do.
And I was the worst friend, not knowingly, but I give you this book right as you're heading on a plane to go to China.
Right.
And you get addicted.
I do.
And you spend like one of your whole days in Hong Kong looking for the New Moon book in a bookstore, and you find some like contraband copy somewhere.
I totally
right? Like
did,
it's like a knockoff copy that like actually is the book, but not by the publisher. And
it's like a totally different size than everybody else's book. And so, it's completely different, but it's the same book. It's just,
I mean, maybe it's not like maybe it's just like the Hong Kong imprint, where they have different,
Probably.
like every country has their own.
We'll go with that. Sure.
We'll go with that.
It's China. What do you expect it to be? But I just remember that it was an 18-hour flight. So I read the entire book on the flight. And then I did spend the whole day looking for number 2 because I was like, I am obsessed. And then I like fly into this place where there's a hurricane coming in, or a typhoon. I just remember I flew into to Hong Kong. There was a typhoon. And so I was like, it's like I'm in Forks. Everything is so cloudy and rainy. It was just funny. Oh, good times. Yeah. So, and good times have always been had with Twilight. So if you like Twilight and you would like to get a fix on that, just message us and we'll
become a patron. And we can talk about our Twilight obsession all we want in the Facebook group. And it'll be great.
They will appreciate it, I'm sure.
I will start a Twilight thread after this episode comes out, the day after. So on Wednesday, I'll do Twilight obsession fangirl and boy thread. And everyone can go crazy. We'll see. Maybe it might just me and you, Chelsea. I hope there's other Twihards in the group as well.
If they happen to be there.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about The Crown or Victoria, I'm also up for that.
Yes. Great things.
Good things.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Animation Addicts podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag AnimationAddicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.